Hi everybody, I am not in my garden. Today I'm at Runnings in Rome, New York. I'm playing hooky from my garden and I'm doing a little plant shopping, and I thought I would take advantage of the crabapples while they're in bloom to give you some pointers if you want to pick out a crabapple for your garden. First of all, everybody should have a crabapple. They are wonderful little medium-sized trees. They can fit and tuck into very small spaces. So you want to find a variety that works for you. You want to buy them, if at all possible, when they're in bloom so you can see what color they are. They come in whites, they come in pinks, and then they come in like a reddish color also. But if you find them in bloom, you at least have a guarantee of what color you're going to get. Now, color is important. You might not want to buy a white crabapple if your house is white. Likewise, you might not want to buy a pink crabapple and put it up against a brick house. It might not look good. You might want to do just the opposite. If you have a white house, get a pink crabapple. If you have a brick house, a red brick house, get a white crabapple. That way it'll show up really well. Another thing I want you to consider is disease resistance. Go online, look up the variety, and make sure that it's listed as a disease resistant variety. They can get things like apple scab, and nothing is foolproof, but at least if it can resist it, it won't defoliate the tree as much, and you won't probably have to spray. But they're still well worth it. The third thing I want you to consider is the size. Now, crabapples come in different sizes and shapes. There's some that are tall and narrow, there's some that are short and wide, and there's some that are tall and wide. And we're going to go back to my garden and I'm going to explain why those different characteristics have a direct impact on where you're going to put them in your garden. When you bring that little crab tree home from the store, it might be about this size, and you think, oh, you can plant it just any place. But that's not true. These things can get rather large, not like a maple tree large, but still large enough that you need to do some serious thinking about where you're going to plant it. This is a Prairie Fire crabapple. You can see she's about 25 feet wide and about 20 feet tall. She's one of those short, fat varieties of crabapples. And I chose her for this location because we're planting right underneath the power lines. I didn't want anything that was going to get so tall that the power company had to come in and chop down. I also wanted it to block the street. So her low-hanging branches help block the view. When you're on the road, you can't see into the yard, and when you're in the yard, you can't see out into the road. So it gives us a nice little bit of seclusion. But those characteristics are exactly what makes her kind of a pain also to deal with. Because the Prairie Fire grows more horizontal than upright, the branches come real low to the ground, and you can't mow underneath this without limbing it all the way up. And then it would look really stupid because it would look like a T. It wouldn't give it a lollipop shape because it's not tall enough. You just have the trunk and then branches way up here. So it would look really stupid if we tried to limb this up, which is why we've decided to put a ground cover underneath it. We have my 1,000 daffodils early in the spring, and then in the summertime we have the daylilies that come up in here. But that allows us to keep the branches low enough that it does what I wanted it to do, and that's block the view from the road to the house and block the view from the house to the road. This is a Centurion crab. You can see it grows about 25 feet wide and it's about 20 feet tall right now. This plant also grows low to the ground, but because it has a tall arching branching habit, it takes much better to pruning underneath it so that you can do any kind of maintenance under it. However, you do kind of need to wait until it gets mature to start limbing it up, because again, it would look more like not a really proportional lollipop if you start limbing up and you just leave the branches at the top. So you have to trim as it grows and get that arching so that you can get underneath it and maintain, if it's something that you want to, say, mow under, or in our case, we do some planting underneath it. Let me show what it looks like with the low branches and then where we have limbed it up. You can see just how low these branches are, so we really can't get in there and do any kind of maintenance. We've just maintained it with leaf mulch to keep the weeds out so we don't have to get under there, but we are eventually going to start limbing this up so we can do some additional planting underneath it. Let me show you some that are limbed up where we do planting. I am standing underneath the canopy of 2 Centurion crab apples here. You can see we've been able to limb them up, again, because they have this tall arching habit, so you can get underneath it to do any kind of maintenance. This could possibly be a tree that would work out in the lawn if you wanted to mow around it. However, it's going to take many years for it to get to be this size where it will look proportional if you start hacking away at those lower branches. These trees are about 15, 16 years old. So if you've got the time to wait, great tree. Now, one thing about the Centurion, it is not very disease resistant. So I wouldn't recommend this variety, but I do like the arching habit of it, and it does allow me to do a nice little shade garden underneath it. This is a gladiator crabapple, and you can see it grows 20 feet tall, but it's not very wide. This only grows 9 feet wide by 20 feet tall. And if you look, the branches grow straight up. This would be a wonderful tree if you just wanted to mow around it and not have any plantings under it. Somebody could get in relatively close with the mower and not have a problem. Will it look as pretty as one of those arching ones? Not necessarily, but if you're looking for a tree that you can plant relatively close to the house, with it being only 9 feet wide, I've got it spaced about 9 feet away from the house. That's relatively close for a tree. So this is a good tree for a small, narrow space. And its upright growth habit makes it perfect to mow underneath it, or even do a garden underneath it, because you can easily get into it and work. So, good tree. A couple more things I wanted to mention about crab apples. First of all, they're hardy in zones 4 through 7. They like full sun. They do not like to have wet feet, so you don't want to put them someplace where there's standing water. They do make a good foundation tree near the house because they don't have an invasive root system. But if you want to put them near the house, I want you to figure out how wide they're supposed to get. Say they're 25 feet wide. Add 5 feet to that. That makes it 30. Divide that in half, which is now 15, and that's how far away from your house I want you to plant that tree. 15 feet away. It's going to look a little silly when you have a little tree there, but over the years, as it grows, it's going to grow and fill in that space beautifully. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are, and you can get out in your garden and do some gardening of your own. Take care. Bye-bye.